The day is September 11th, 2001, and at a conference on the Windows on the World restaurant at the World Trade Center on the 106th floor stand three Bloomberg employees, Peter Elderman, William Kelly, and Paul Oritz. During this conference, a photographer snaps a photo of the three men. A few minutes later, they leave with the camera and the film. After they do, American Airlines Flight 11 slams into the North Tower, cutting off access to the restaurant. This would be the last photo of these three men alive. But one mystery still arises. Who took this photo? Why did they leave? And are there other photos? Well, let's find out. Before I start, I just wanted to mention that the reason this is not an OC Unsolved video is because the format of the show not working well for this mystery. You'll see what I mean. Anyways, let's get into it. This photo has become one of the most famous cases of lost media regarding 9/11, due to how mysterious it is. It's one of those images that everyone that's interested in 9/11 has seen, but no one knows where it comes from. The photo was taken during the 2001 Financial Technology Congress, taking place at 8:30 a.m. on the 106th and 107th floors of the North Tower. The Windows on the World restaurant was the location of this particular event, having been closed for the day. The last people who left the North Tower were Michael Nestor, Liz Thompson, Jeffrey Waterton, and Richard Turney. They left mere moments before Flight 11 hit and made it out, so whoever was taking the photos must have left before them. Sadly, those in the photo did not survive. Third person back, in fact, is actually not a Bloomberg employee, but is actually Chris Hanley, who made some of the first 9/11 calls of that day.
Police operator 1886, what is your emergency?
Yeah, hi. I'm on the 106th floor of the World Trade Center. We just had an explosion on the 105th floor.
The 106th floor?
Yes.
106, okay.
We have a conference up there. There's about 100 people up here.
What is your last name?
Hanley, Hanley.
H-A-N.
We have smoke and it's pretty bad.
But let's examine how they would have actually left. This photo was taken on the 106th floor of the World Trade Center. The photographer would have either needed to take two routes, one using the local elevator system and then going to the sky lobby where they could access the remaining floors, but getting down an elevator with 30 stops in the World Trade Center a short time would have been crazy. The other route would have been going up one floor and taking the express elevator to the bottom. I lean a lot more into that route because I think it's faster and more likely in my opinion. In 2021, a major update came in which, while testifying to the US Congress, William Kelly's sister and founder of the September 11th Families for Peaceful Tomorrows brought up the photo, saying, "Good morning, Chairman Durbin, Ranking Member Grassley, members of the committee. Thank you for this opportunity to share my experience with you today. I'm a family nurse practitioner in the Bronx, New York, and mother of three grown children. My brother, Bill Kelly Jr., was killed in the North Tower of the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001. Bill didn't work at the World Trade Center. He happened to be at a 2-day conference, an event he had repeatedly asked his boss to attend for him. Bill's boss acquiesced, so in a twist of fate, Bill was in the wrong place at the wrong time. In a second twist, Bill was photographed inside the conference center on the 106th floor early that morning. The photographer's cameras broke, and thankfully, she left the building at around 8:30 a.m. and headed to another assignment. This is huge because it's the first time the photographer is referred to as a she, narrowing down the possible list. Kelly's sister has spoken about the photo many times, and apparently saw it soon after 9/11. For some reason, this is the only time the photographer is referred to as a she in her statements. Many have theorized that she knew the photographer, but agreed not to disclose her identity and slipped up. I don't think this is true, but I'll get into that. Investigators on the 9/11 Archive subreddit identified 3 companies of interest: Bloomberg, the New York Times, and the event organizers, Risk Magazine. The closest person to this photo is Kevin Flynn, who wrote a 2002 article on 9/11, which was the first online mention of the photo. He has not been able to be contacted. Someone with access to the New York Times archives was contacted and stated that she had no info on the photo, despite their archives going past 2001. As soon as the photo began getting popular online, Bloomberg released an article about the 3 men that were in the building. However, they credited the image to the original Reddit post who brought up the image, and not a name. And Bloomberg's own archives turned up nothing about the photo. Risk was a subsidiary of Risk Waters, and it was found that they had a photographer at the conference. This is where the story gets more interesting. Ron Joltz was meant to be the photographer on that day, but was fired a week before. He says he called the magazine editor with suggestions on how he could make this year better, but the editor blew up on him and fired him on the spot, saying, "If you don't want to do this job my way, I'll find someone else who will." He was replaced by a different photographer. He says that the part that surprised him was that professional photographers would usually bring a replacement and would be prepared if something goes wrong. It probably would not be in the car in the parking lot, but rather on them at the time. I see it as likely that if something was in the car, or there's somewhere else they needed to go, that's why they would have left. He makes some interesting points, though, and questions why someone would do that. Ron doesn't know who replaced him, but he did later come forward with more info. He found the name of the editor who fired him, John Lloyd. He still works for Risk and is the editor of production. He was one of the few employees that was not in the towers for that conference. John was contacted, but could not find who hired him and who replaced Ron. Many say, though, that the photographer was not at Risk Magazine. And this is further backed up that, rather recently, an interview from a member of the 9/11 subreddit with someone related to Bloomberg revealed they did have a photographer at the conference and that they took multiple photos. So, whatever the photographer is, they have multiple photos, and that Kelly's sister actually might know the photographer, and there's evidence to suggest that she does, and which it had been implied via other articles, leaving the case likely to be solved soon. And with that, that's where the search ends. We still don't know why they left, who they were, and why they're still anonymous, but I do think that this will be solved pretty soon. Thanks for watching. I know this is unusual as I've never done a Lost Media video before, but I thought this was an interesting video for the 9/11 anniversary. It's not the most well-known 9/11 piece of Lost Media, but I do hope someday this can be solved. And also, sorry if this video didn't come out as well as my other videos. I recorded basically the entire thing with a lozenge in my mouth and feeling not that well, but I tried my best, and I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. So, with that, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.